Hey everyone, and welcome to the PI News 2024 Year in Review. This year has been nothing short of transformative for international education, with numerous developments that have reshaped the landscape for students and institutions alike. From policy shifts to new trends in student mobility, we have a lot to cover. This year has been a wild ride for international students, filled with both challenges and opportunities. We've seen a surge in student mobility, with more students than ever before choosing to study abroad. However, this increase has come with its own set of hurdles. There have been lots of policy changes and big shifts in where students are choosing to study. Countries that were once popular destinations have seen a decline, while new hotspots have emerged. This has been influenced by a variety of factors, including changes in visa regulations, political climates, and the availability of scholarships. From limits on student visas to arguments about language tests, things have really changed. Many countries have tightened their visa requirements, making it more difficult for students to gain entry. At the same time, there have been protests and debates about the fairness and accessibility of language proficiency tests, which are often a barrier for non-native speakers. Join us as we break down the biggest stories of the year, examining the key events that have shaped the world of international education. We'll look at the major policy changes, the impact of global events, and the stories that have made headlines. We'll delve into the key policy changes, exploring how new regulations and government decisions have affected students and universities. From changes in visa policies to new funding opportunities, we'll cover it all. We'll also look at how these changes affect students and universities on a day-to-day basis. How are students adapting to new requirements? What are universities doing to support their international students? We'll hear from students, educators, and policy makers to get a comprehensive view. And finally, we'll discuss what it all means for the future of studying abroad. With so many changes happening so quickly, what can we expect in the coming years? Will we see more students traveling to new destinations? How will universities adapt to the evolving landscape? Stay tuned as we explore these questions and more. Things are changing, and Indian students who usually go to the US, UK, Canada and Australia, the Big Four, are looking at other options, especially Europe. With the Big Four making it harder and more expensive, Europe is a more welcoming choice. Europe has great universities, interesting cultures, and it's cheaper to live there. Canada is back, and they've decided to limit the number of international study permits. This decision has sent shockwaves through the community of aspiring students worldwide. For years, Canada has been a beacon of hope for many international students, especially those from India who seek quality education and better opportunities. This is causing a lot of problems, especially for Indian students who now face an uncertain future. Many have already invested significant time, effort and money into their dream of studying in Canada. The sudden change in policy has left them in a lurch, with many questioning their next steps. Indian students make up a large part of Canada's international student population. They contribute not only to the academic environment, but also to the cultural diversity and economic vitality of Canadian universities and communities. The new limits could drastically reduce this vibrant influx of talent and ambition. The government says these limits are needed to manage how many international students are there, citing concerns about overpopulation in certain areas and the strain on local resources. They argue that this measure will help maintain the quality of education and living standards for all students. But many think it's a way to limit immigration. Critics argue that this policy is a veiled attempt to curb the number of immigrants entering the country under the guise of student visas. Protests have erupted, with students and activists demanding a reconsideration of the policy, emphasizing the invaluable contributions of international students to Canadian society. The UK Home Office is trying to change the rules for English language testing, and it's very confusing. They think the current system isn't secure enough, so they're making a new test. This could be a good thing, or it could just make things more complicated for everyone. Now let's look at Australia, a country known for its stunning landscapes, vibrant cities and world-class education system. Australia has always been popular with international students. Its universities are renowned for their high standards, and the multicultural environment makes it an attractive destination for students from all over the world. However, in recent years, the government has been making it increasingly difficult for international students to study there. Policies have been introduced that complicate the process, causing frustration among students and educators alike. One significant change was the attempt to modify the ESOS framework, which is designed to protect the rights and welfare of international students. This move was met with widespread criticism and concern. The proposed changes were so unpopular that the government eventually had to backtrack. The backlash from students, educational institutions, and the public was overwhelming, forcing the authorities to reconsider their stance. In addition to the ESOS framework changes, new visa regulations were introduced. These new rules added another layer of complexity and uncertainty, leaving many international students worried about their future in Australia. The impact of these changes has been profound. Many students are now reconsidering their plans to study in Australia, and universities are concerned about the potential decline in international enrollments. The situation remains tense as stakeholders continue to navigate these challenging times. Back to the UK, where something good happened for international students. The Migration Advisory Committee, MAC, recommended that the UK keep its graduate route, which lets international students stay and work after they graduate. This is great news for students who want to work in the UK. That's our review of 2024. It was a year of big changes for international students. Things are always changing, but one thing is clear. Lots of people still want to study abroad. Stay tuned to the PI News for more updates as we head into 2025.